Hi, my name is Lisa Garcia. I'm the founder of Whole Child Learning and Wellness, and I want to thank you so much for joining me on this series where we're going to discuss different things that you can do for your children who have struggle with learning, behavior, and motor disorders. So the purpose of this series is to give you step-by-step guidance in what you can do, and I want to give them to you in small chunks so that you're not overwhelmed and that you can take things one step at a time and in small enough chunks that are doable. So just to introduce myself, again, my name is Lisa Ann de Garcia. I was a teacher for 24 years. Most of that time I was a math specialist. I worked with struggling children. My entire career I worked with disadvantaged children, children in the inner city, children who struggled with learning. And also I'm a mother of 3. I have a 19-year-old who has autism, and so we have been on this journey ourselves as a family since he was about 2.5 years old. My oldest son has severe ADD, and my youngest son, luckily there's like a 10-year gap between the older ones and him, so there was a lot that we learned to do for him early on. So we believe we can tell by some of the things that, some of the issues when he was a child, we could tell that we were able to mitigate a lot. But each child is individual, and one thing might work for one, and everybody is very individual, and they respond differently, and they have their own issues. While I was teaching, I specialized in mathematics, so for about half of my teaching career, I was focused on working with children and really understanding how children learn mathematics. I taught in the university in the math methods department, and I've also written 4 books around elementary mathematics. However, when it was my last assignment, I was in Japan for 7 years, and during that time I was working with struggling students. And during that time I realized I wanted to dissect what made struggling students tick. So one of the things that I learned early on was that my students were shared a lot of times with the reading teacher. So we tended to have a lot of the same students. So usually children who struggle in one area are actually struggling in more than one area. Maybe they might struggle in one academic area, but then they're also struggling in behavior or attention or some other area that might not be academic. So my whole charge when I was there, I pretty much turned over every rock, learned every program that exists to figure out what is the best out of everything that is out there, and what can I do. How my whole philosophy was, if a learning center charges, for example, $6,000 for 3 months, I wanted to provide in the public school setting a $6,000 education for free. That was my whole goal. Now, the problem that I faced was that I didn't have full support of, let's say, my administrators or the school system, just the way the system is. Not that my administrators didn't like me helping children, but the way that the school system is set up these days, because either of No Child Left Behind or just other things, with testing and other things that in play, I didn't have as much freedom to be, I had some flexibility. I had my own program, but I didn't have complete flexibility to do what I knew that I should do for children that is really beneficial for them. That's why pretty much the main reason why I left the school, because I through that quest, not only did I understand the right academic interventions for children, I actually understood the reasons that they were struggling, which was more based in brain development, which has to do more with sensory motor, motor development. And then I sought certification in functional diagnostic nutrition, because I wanted to I knew from our own family's experience that the nutrition and biochemical side of it was so critical and actually probably the most important part of it. So I sought certification, and I've been training in that now for several years. So anyway, so besides functional diagnostic nutrition, I'm also a licensed brain gym instructor and Bloomberg rhythmic movement training instructor. So I have basically all the functional medicine side and the functional neurology side, and which is why I call my business Whole Child Learning and Wellness, because usually health coaches understand the biochemical side, or movement specialists or occupational therapists understand the motor side, but there is interconnection between the two, and I really wanted to understand both so I could see a child and know, okay, we need to focus a little bit more on the sensory side, or we need to really focus more on the physical side. So just in this episode, I wanted to let you know, first of all, however your child is, whatever your family situation is, just understand that it's not your fault, okay? Because what's going on with our children is much bigger than just us, okay? We can blame ourselves, we can blame our heredity, we can blame our genetics, but it's much bigger than us, and I will talk about that in other episodes. So it is not your fault. Give yourself permission to breathe, and because we're going to take this one step at a time. Second point I want you to understand is that there is hope. There is absolute hope. Now, I'm going to be completely honest. My 19-year-old son is not completely recovered. I do know there were things along the way that we greatly improved. I know that he would be a completely different person if we didn't do what we did, but not every kid can recover. He was a little bit complicated, and but I still, every single day, am searching, and I'm plugging away, and I'm still doing different therapies, and I'm still learning, and I truly believe that had I been able to, or had my son recovered at a very early age, we would not be here today, because my life would have been, everything would have been okay. I would have just continued on my merry way. But I truly believe that God gave me the gift of my son and gave me the gift of having him the way he is, still with his issues, because that is what drives me to unturn another stone every day and to figure out, okay, what from here can I apply to my son, and then what do I learn from that so I can help other children? Because I believe that I have such a large toolbox to be able to help all your children because of all the experiences that I've had with mine. Another point is you have to understand that what works for one child does not necessarily work for another. I kind of already alluded to that. Just like what works, one thing that works for me isn't going to work for my husband. We are all bio-individual, and even though we have overarching principles that does work with each person, as the saying goes, one man's medicine is another man's poison. Okay, so you could, broccoli for one person could be the miracle food, and for the other person can, just spiral them out of control. So just because, something is said to be good, that's why these diets, these fad diets, even really good diets such as paleo, ketogenic, gluten-free diets, they don't work for everybody because everybody is so different. So we're going to be learning about the principles, so you can decide for yourself, and you can test, and you can see what works for you. So next point, and this is really important to understand, neurodevelopment issues around the brain, whether you're young or you're old, but especially for our young ones, it has to do with neuroinflammation, okay? So it doesn't have to do with a lack of schooling, because what happens is because our children are in the educational setting, we tend to try to educate them out of it. But the bottom line is the reason our children are having these issues is because they have neuroinflammation. The brain and the gut mirror each other. So whatever's going on in the brain, you can tell what's going on in the gut. Dr. Tom O'Brien, he has this little quote. He always says that our brain is the canary in the coal mine. So when we start having issues such as memory loss, brain fog, dementia, anything that goes wrong with the brain, including with their young children and all the issues that we're seeing, we can directly see what's happening in the gut and in the rest of our body. So if there's inflammation here, there's inflammation in the gut. Okay, so this is not just an education issue. Now, our teachers definitely can help if they are educated in sensory development and motor development, because movement helps grow and link the brain. And so even if there is some inflammation, we can still do things on the other end to help link that brain, but we have to put out the fire, otherwise those linkages are going to break apart. Okay, so we can treat the brain by treating the inflammation, and we can treat the brain by doing special neurodevelopment, linking up the brain, motor, sensory input. Okay, so the kind of the OT stuff, and the the diet and the health and the lifestyle stuff. So the best way to fix our brain is to fix our gut, to target the gut, and then the rest of our body through things like detoxification. So that's what this whole series is about. We're going to go step by step, one little piece at a time, so you can take one piece and digest it. So the other episodes are probably going to be nice and short and sweet, but maybe not, because I might need to give you some background as the rationale of why we're going to do what we're doing. But I'm going to try to chunk it into little pieces so we don't overwhelm you. So I hope you join me on the other episodes as we walk this journey together and transforming our child one step at a time. Thank you.